What's going on, everybody? I'm Alex. Welcome to LakerCentral, the post game. Make sure you guys subscribe to the to YouTube and turn on your notifications so you don't miss any of our pre or post game content. Also, subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, Apple, Google, however you enjoy your podcast. Tonight, guys, it's just me. I think Vinay will be joining us in a little bit, but man, that game got dicey towards the end there, man. It got real dicey. Lakers were up 7 with like a minute to go, and then you get those turnovers at the end. First, that foul that Schroeder gave when they had no more fouls to give. Then the LeBron turnover. Anthony Davis turned the ball over. Lakers are really fortunate to get a win tonight, man. But we got the win. You always want to celebrate, right? Especially a win over Boston. So 96-95. Lakers, they dropped the last couple games or whatever. It's nice to kind of get out of that because I was thinking towards the end of this game, if we take this L, that just puts more and more pressure on these guys to try to figure out what's going on. And I'm glad they pulled it out. But like I said, man, it was they could have played better. Hey, what's up, Jay, man? Yeah, it's a good win because you take a win however you can get it. They're going to be ugly wins when you're playing an 82 game season, or in this case, I think it's like 71 this year. But look, they got the win, man. And we take it from there. So you look at some of the numbers from tonight. Like, AD came out pretty aggressive. I mean, he ended the game 11 for 25 for 27 points. But he started off the first half really aggressive. He was completely engaged. That was really good to see. And I figured, there might be some drop off in his production in the second half. And certainly there was. I don't know. Like, 14 rebounds is great. He had a couple steals. No blocks. That's unfortunate. I wish I could have saw a couple blocks out of him. 11 for 25 certainly isn't a great field goal percentage for somebody of his caliber. Somebody who's a big man at that. But, look, what can you do? We got the win, and you kind of just take it from there. Zangerstein, man, I agree. Very bad offense towards the end. They just got caught up. And sometimes you play, like sometimes you get kind of timid at the end of games and you play not to lose rather than playing to win. And I think there was some of that going on. Like that LeBron turnover, like he just lost the ball. There really was no reason for that. But, those things are going to happen. We're just fortunate that the Celtics didn't get a bounce and they end up winning this game. Pink, yeah, Kuz did have a good game. I mean, he had 11 points. He hit 3 3-pointers, 6 rebounds. He continues to rebound really, really well this season. That's a nice surprise out of him. But he was 4 for 8 overall from the field, so he gave the Lakers something, as did Schroeder, as did Montrez. Like, they got some help tonight, and they needed it. William, I agree. That was a champ's win, man. Like, trying to get a win when you're not at your best. And look, we saw this against Philly. Now, in that game, the Lakers were down, and then they came back, and, they took the lead, and then Philly hit a big shot, and they won that game. But, that could have went the other way, and then you look at this game, some of these games are going to be ugly. You guys know that as fans. You probably watched as much basketball as I have. Some of these games are going to be ugly. So, yeah, it's certainly a chance when you got to win the ugly ones, too. Like, you can't blow everybody out. You got to win the ugly games also, especially coming off that loss the other night to Detroit. Like, I know AD didn't play in that game, but it's really no excuse for the Lakers to take an L against Detroit. No excuse whatsoever. Let me get to some of you guys' comments here. Yeah, Bethany. So I agree with you. And let me put your comment up for a second while I talk about it. So, as you guys can see, Bethany said the defensive end was more concerning than the offensive end for AD. He hasn't had a game without that kind of defensive impact so far. And, look, I said this the other night when I was on. I think that there may be something up with Anthony Davis. Like, something's going on because he is clearly not himself. And I don't know if it's something, with his body and there's an unknown injury that he's kind of tending to that we don't know about. Maybe there's something off the court. And look, guys, like, it's a pandemic. It's been a pandemic for like a year now. Like, these guys have families. They've got a lot of responsibility. just like you and I, we might struggle day in and day out with the pandemic and kind of some of the isolation and how life is kind of different. Those guys are going to do the same as well. They're going to struggle. So whatever's going on with Anthony Davis, he does not look the same. And I suspect that he will get out of this at some point. But he's in some kind of funk right now. But he did drop 27 tonight. He helped the Lakers win. But yeah, he's in some kind of funk. And I would like to see him have a bigger impact on the defensive end. What else are you guys talking about here in the chat? Let me see here. Hey, Tout, yeah, man. Dennis definitely looked more engaged. He definitely looked more engaged. Let me get your comment up here too. Yeah, he looked more engaged. Dennis can pretty much beat almost anybody off the dribble. And, you see games where he's kind of timid also. And it's kind of like he doesn't know what his place is going to be in the offense from night in and night out sometimes. But he can beat anybody off the dribble. And he did that tonight. He had that nice blow by on Tice. And he got that layup in the AM1. We need Schroeder to be engaged. Probably even more so while whatever is going on with Anthony Davis gets corrected. Like if Anthony Davis isn't going to be a 25 and 10 guy every night and have a defensive impact. And really, that's where you want Anthony Davis to be most impactful right now is on the defensive end. If he's going to kind of be struggling, then you need Schroeder to be really good offensively. So he looked more engaged tonight. I definitely agree with that. Let me see here. Zanger, yeah, I agree, man. I really agree with that. I think that Dennis should attack anybody, any big man that switches out on him. And frankly, like I said, he can blow by many of the guards. Like he has no issue getting past some of these guards. So, like I said, man, I want to see him better than that. Guys, I'm going to open the phones up for a little while tonight. So you're welcome to call in, and I can get you here on the show. The number to the show is 213-262-0494. And let me put it in the chat real quick for you guys. So you guys can call in if you want to, and you can chat with me rather than doing all this in the chat box there. But let me just put the phone number up, and you guys can dial in. So William, I agree. I do think that they could run some more plays for him off the ball because there are times when he's kind of like standing around, and it's like. You know what? I just think that he's deferring to LeBron and those guys. Like, that's just how I see it. I think that he's deferring to those guys. He's trying to find his way. And this is just kind of what we're dealing with at this point. So, but it's a long season. Like, I think that they're about 20-25% of the season. Season is over with at this point. There's still some time to go. And again, they're not practicing physically. Everything is game tape. So you keep that in mind as well. Let me see here. So how much did KCP play now? Let me look at the box. He played 20 points. So you know what? The crazy thing is, I was watching KCP, and KCP he's really, he's like got this workman type attitude. He's really consistent night in and night out. He had a terrible game tonight. I mean, he didn't score a basket. Like, he was terrible. And I expect him to knock down a couple threes every single night, but he just didn't have it. Even defensively, he wasn't that great tonight. So he played 20 minutes. What was actually surprising is that Talen Horton-Tucker was first off the bench. He played 23 minutes, and Talen had 6 points. He had a couple nice moves around the basket, as Talen always does. But I think that Talen played a lot tonight, because, KCP wasn't as great as he normally is, and West didn't play tonight either. And then Caruso played 20 minutes. But they didn't get much scoring out of those guys. William, maybe he is fatigued, man. Like, it's hard to say, right? Like, these guys had a short off season. So it's really hard to say. He may very well be fatigued. We don't know yet. The Lakers it's early. That's all I can say, man. Like, I try not to get too high. I try not to get too low in any win or any loss. And for me, beating the Celtics is a big deal. I don't like them. I hate that we're tied with them in championships. I prefer if we had more. But hey, guys are going to get fatigued. And maybe he is. So to your point, it'll be interesting to see what they look like these next couple games because they've got the Hawks on Monday, and then they have the Nuggets on Thursday. So the good thing is, they get a night off before the game on Monday against the Hawks. Good young team. But then they're going to have 3 days off or 2 days off until they play the Nuggets. So they'll get a little bit of rest in there. So maybe, he gets a little bit of time to rest and get his body right. Ramiro, so this is interesting, right? I see people saying this, that THT should be the starter. And I don't know. Like, you're not starting him over Dennis. And so I don't think that you would put THT in the two guard position because, look, you need a good defender in that role. You need a good defender and a good three-point shooter. You need a 3-and-D guy. And that's why KCP is so impactful. Tonight he wasn't, but most nights he's very impactful. I don't think you start THT over Dennis or over KCP. Like you just don't. You can give him more minutes, certainly. But in all likelihood, you're taking minutes away from West, and some of that depends on the matchup. So, but I wouldn't start THT right now. So Kenny, before I get to Kenny's comment, let me you know what? Let me go right to Kenny's comment because this is interesting. So Kenny said he found more joy in last season's regular season. 21 games this season's been a slog. So we were 17-3 last year. I think we're 17-4 right now. I think that's what our record is. Matter of fact, why not I just look it up? Let me see where we stand right now. Lakers are 14-6. We're 14-6. So, look, we're third in the West. We're a half game behind the Clippers. A game and a half behind the Jazz. The Jazz have won 11 straight, so that they're on a ridiculous win streak. They'll come back down to earth, and they have minimal separation right now. But you know what? I think right now it feels more like a slog just because of how fast last season and this season turned around. Like normally what you get is, particularly as fans, let's say our favorite team, our Lakers, win the championship, and then you've got like an entire summer to kind of just relax, right? To kind of just take everything in. And we didn't get that right now. Like the Lakers, they were off 71 days. It was 71 days between winning the championship and this season starting. And that's really quick. So I think that has a lot to do with why this feels like a slog. Also, I just think it's our own mental fatigue. Like everything right now in life kind of feels like it's a slog. And so that's why I think. And I think the Lakers have been dominant at times for extended stretches. I mean, most of the, up until recently, they were fairly dominant all season long. They just had a few lapses these last couple games. Remember, even though we lost to we lost to the Pistons, and then we took that L against Philly, we just beat the Celtics, we beat the Bucks. Like the Lakers are a really good team. So that's kind of how I look at that. Let's see here. Let me get a couple more of you guys' comments. So yeah, man, like Miami hasn't looked great at all. So Miami right now, Jimmy was out for like I think 10 games or something like that. Jimmy was out for a really long time. Miami is 13th in the East. They're 7-12. And so, much of this season the teams that advanced furthest in the playoffs last year didn't look great to start this year. Like the Nuggets, they're 4th in the West, but for a good part of this season, the Nuggets look terrible. They're finally starting to kind of get their legs under them. I think that just tells us what this is, right? So Abhay said, "What do we do with Gasol?" You know what, man? Like I'm not mad at Gasol at all. Like Gasol's not a problem. Like Gasol's doing exactly what the Lakers brought him in to do: hit an occasion open three, find cutters, initiate some of the offense when he needs to, and play decent defense. And he's played good defense. Like he hasn't been an issue this season. I think that what fans are kind of reacting to is his lack of athleticism. And so when Gasol makes a good defensive play, it doesn't pop off the screen the same way Dwight or JaVale would. And really Dwight. Like people like to lump JaVale and Dwight together, but Dwight is night and day a better defensive player than JaVale. I mean, he's a three-time NBA Defensive Player of the Year. Like he's a future Hall of Famer, right? So I think, and fans remember how great Dwight looked against Jokic in the finals or in the Western Conference Finals. Like he played him really well. So I'm not down on Gasol. Gasol's fine. Like for all the talk about we don't have rim protectors and all that kind of stuff, the Lakers have been just fine in blocks. Gasol defends the rim in a different way. And when Anthony Davis is engaged, he is the best rim protector in the NBA. Like I think that's what everybody needs to remember and consider when complaining about or getting mad at Gasol. What else do you guys talking about here in the chat? Yeah, I mean Kenny, right? The Bucks are 11-9, right? Like teams are struggling that advanced last year, so it's gonna happen. So Zangerstein brings up a good point also. The players they can't go out and they can't have fun. A lot of the things the players did last season to build camaraderie they can't do this year because of COVID restrictions. They built a lot of their camaraderie last year pre-bubble, and then it carried over in the bubble when they were just isolated with each other. And so that's a really good point. I think that has something to do with why maybe there might be some chemistry issues at times. But frankly, I think the Lakers are ahead of schedule this season. Like they're just ahead of schedule. And even if they don't win the West or they're not one or two, if they're 3 or 4 in the West, they're going to be a hard out for anybody. Like ask yourself who beats this team in a 7-game series. Like seriously, who beats the Lakers in a 7-game series? I don't know who. I don't. Um, Romeo. So Bradley Beal. I look. I don't think we're in the sweepstakes. He's under contract for like 2 more years, man. I keep telling everybody, 2023. The Lakers have lined up all of their contracts, even the ones that they may sign with like folks like Schroeder. They've lined them all up perfectly. 2023 is when Bill was a free agent. That's when I think they're gonna go for him. They're not gonna go for him early. If they have an opportunity, sure, to do a trade, but they're not gonna. I don't think they have anything that the Wizards would want. Not more so than what another team might offer up. So I I don't think we're in the Bradley Beal sweepstakes at all. Yeah, Naveed, man, we need to see the real AD. I look, I was shouting at the TV tonight a couple times, like, "Come on, AD, like, let's get going. Like, what's going on? Um, whatever's going on with him, man, he'll work through it. Like, he's just too good. He's one of the best players in the NBA. He's way too good, for whatever's going on for him not to be rectified at some point. So I wouldn't be concerned about Anthony Davis. It just could be that he's having a slow start. And think about it. He's still averaging like 20 and 10 or something like that. Like, if that's just his slow start, then that's just, he's not averaging 10 rebounds, but you guys get my point. Like, Anthony Davis's slow start would be an all-star season for everybody else. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. All you guys watching on Twitter or on Facebook or Twitch, make sure you go over to YouTube and subscribe, man. Search LakerCentral or go to youtube.com/LakerCentral. Subscribe and turn on notifications. Don't forget to do that, man. I appreciate all you guys jumping in these lives with us. Let me answer a few more of you guys' questions here. You guys are live in the chat tonight. I figured you would be after that win. Hey, Sonic, man, what up? Look, Dennis has played really good defense this season, and I think that that's probably the part of his game that I was least familiar with. I knew he could score. He could give you 18, 20 in any game of the week, but his defense has been really good. And I was looking at Kemba. Kemba's only played, I think, 2 games this season, and he hasn't looked. I mean, Kemba has not looked like a max player. So, if the Celtics brought him in to kind of be like Kyrie Irving, but maybe not, clash as much with the franchise, Kemba is not a replacement for Kyrie Irving. Like, he does not look that good at all. And I was saying to myself, kind of watching this game, like, I remember when there was rumors that the Lakers were interested in him. And Dennis Schroeder is absolutely better than Kemba Walker. There's, you know, Kemba was really good down in North Carolina. I get it. But right now, whatever's going on with him, he's not great at all. So, Jay, that was something I was talking about the other night, man. Our wing defense isn't tall enough for guys like Tatum. Um, and so I've been on record that I hope Trevor Ariza gets bought out because I would love for the Lakers to get him. He's 6'7", 6'8". Even though I think this is his 13th or 14th season, he's still a really good defender and he can hit the three. Like them corner threes is what Trevor Ariza does. He plays really solid defense. I would like to see them get a bigger wing, because KCP, West, Caruso, they're all under 6'5". And KCP is a great defender, but I do think that, these guys that are 6'7", 6'8", if the games are close, they're just going to shoot over all these guys. And what can you do with that? You saw that in the Philly game. And I can't even think of the kid's name, but when the one guy from Philly hit the game winner. I don't know why his name escapes me at this point. But he hit the game winner. I think he's like 6'8". He was just too tall. So, yeah, I agree. I think we could use a bigger wing defender. I don't know if you guys know this. You might know it. But the league has been talking about adding an 18th roster spot. And GMs disagree on who should be allowed to fill that roster spot. Like right now, there's a good portion of the league that says we only want two-way players or players that have under 3 years of service in the NBA. While there are other teams saying no, open that 18th roster spot up to any veteran, right? And some teams are complaining that if you open it up to any veteran, then the rich get richer. Then teams like the Lakers would just have their pick of the litter from the good veterans that are out there. The way I see it, open it up to anybody. It's another unprecedented season. Don't limit it to two-way players or players that have less than 3 years of service. Like there are guys that have played it over a decade that I'm sure would like an opportunity to either compete for a championship or even earn a paycheck. And give these guys an opportunity. So I'm all for opening up to everybody. But yeah, I'd like to see a bigger wing defender on guys like Tatum. Now, to be fair, Tobias, thanks Sonic. Tobias was a little too tall over Caruso and he hit that game winner. But to be fair, we saw in the finals, like Anthony Davis can guard all these wings. Like when Anthony Davis is locked in, he can guard anybody from top to bottom, right? So he's been really effective against guys like Kawhi. He can be effective against Jimmy Butler. You guys saw that in the finals. So I think that that's part of the Lakers' reasoning because most of these teams right now don't have, a great wing and a great big that you got to worry about Anthony Davis having, have to pick one to defend. So that might be what the Lakers' thinking is, but I would like to see a bigger wing on the team as well. It just depends on all the rosters, man, and who they allow to fill some of these spots. I'm not sure if the Jazz are going to go hard for the first seed. I mean, they might. Like teams like the Jazz, the Nuggets, they need the one seed more than the Lakers do. No, all of that's assuming there are fans in the stands, right? Like I don't think fans will be in the stands come finals or playoff time. Like maybe some fans will, and it's like a limited amount. But I don't think you're going to see packed arenas this season either. I think that's not going to happen until next year. So if it's another bubble environment, then home court really doesn't matter. But they may very well be trying to go for the 1 or 2 seed, just in case we do have fans back in the stands. Man, you guys are talking it up. I can't even keep up with some of your comments. So I think Kuzma is a good wing defender. He's a good wing defender, and his defense has gotten better. The thing with Kuzma is what I get concerned about when he's guarding like a premier wing. Let's say he's guarding Jason Tatum, and Tatum hits a big shot over him or hits a couple shots in a row. Sometimes Kuzma gets in that mindset where he needs to come back down on the offensive end and kind of answer, and he either takes a shot out of rhythm, takes the Lakers out of rhythm, or he misses a shot. Sometimes he hits it. But I don't want Kyle Kuzma trading baskets with guys like Tatum, Jimmy Butler, Tobias. I don't want that at all. Like, that's why I'm a little concerned about him guarding the other guy, because I think sometimes he gets lost in the individual one-on-one matchup. But he is 6'8". Like, you need to use these guys. You definitely need to use these guys. 3 sacks. I thought I was the only one that saw it, man. Kuz definitely gets lost in those one-on-one matchups. So Bethany, you're right. He definitely stayed down on pump fakes today. That's a huge improvement because oftentimes he gets off his feet, and I'm like, they're just gonna draw a foul on you, man. Like, that's all they're gonna do is draw a foul on you. So I don't know what's up with him. I really don't. Let me see here. Let me see here. Let me get to you guys' last few comments before I call it a night. I think that that's one thing also. Like, Kuz can definitely get bodied against the stronger wings. Now, he's gotten stronger. I mean, obviously, been in the league 4 years. He's gotten stronger, but yeah, some of these other guys are just bigger and stronger than he is, and so they're gonna bully him a little bit. But they're gonna bully everybody, so that's not a knock, right? Like, that's not a knock against Kuz at all. Now, Kenny, you're right. Like, he's trying to be a 3-and-D guy. Like, this season, he hasn't been talking about scoring or anything like that. Like, he's just been whatever the Lakers ask him to do is he's been doing it. And I'm trying to pull up some of his numbers from recent games because I know he's been rebounding so well recently. Let me take a quick look at the game log. I mean, he's got a bunch of double-digit rebound games this season. You didn't see that a year ago with Kuz. Um, but 6 tonight, 10 rebounds against Detroit. He had 22 and 10 against Detroit, which obviously is a great game, but 6 rebounds, 8 rebounds, 5, 5, 10, 13, 6, 11. He's rebounding, right? Like, and Anthony Davis isn't pulling down double-digit rebounds every single night like he was last season or when he was a Pelican. And so having Kuz step up in that regard, I think is a big win for the Lakers. So, no, shout out to Kuz, man. Give guys their flowers. Like, I think that's big. When they're playing well, man, give them their flowers. No, right. I agree, Zangerson. Look, he accepted the offer. You know, he certainly wants to improve his game because I think for him, it's the next offer where he's going to try and get his big payday. And it may be there, it may not. Right? Like, maybe it's not there. Maybe there isn't some team that throws a big amount of money at him, like $80 million or something. Maybe there's a team like the Lakers that give him 40 or 50 million. But if you can stay with the Lakers and compete for championships and you're in Los Angeles and you're Kuz, you might, that 50 million looks really good, right? So, no, he's accepted his role, man, and I'm happy about that. Yeah, that Jeremy Grant money, I mean, yeah, a lot of these guys wanted that, but hey, Kuz isn't there yet. And if he could have got it and he would have found a team and left, I wouldn't have been mad. Like, get paid. So Harold goes one on one way more than I thought. Like, I didn't realize, all the crossover between the leg stuff that Harold does. Um, he's got these weird like floaters, hook shot type things around the basket. They sometimes they look like they're going to be short and not go in, but they end up going in. The Lakers need a guy like him when they need a basket. Now he can sometimes, do a little too much also, but again, that's why you brought in all these offensive guys like Schroeder and Harold to take that burden off of LeBron and Anthony Davis. So he's playing within his role. Also Morris. So Morris didn't play tonight. I don't think. I don't think I saw him in tonight's game. Markeith, I'm not worried about Markeith at all. Like, Markeith is there for the playoffs. That's why you got a guy like him, the 6'8" guy that you can't bully, will hit big threes. That's why Markeith is there. So I'm not worried about him at all. I think the Lakers are just trying to work everybody in and get everyone comfortable with their roles. Let's see. I have to look at the cap numbers, and I'm not 100% sure. But So the Lakers have both their bird rights, so they can go over the cap to retain them. But it just depends on what these guys are looking for. I don't think either one of them leave. I really don't. And I don't think that there's going to be as much money on the table for some of these guys as we think, because there wasn't this year. Always remember, like the pandemic has not only affected the NBA's bottom line, like how much money they make year over year, but a lot of these billionaires, even though they're billionaires, their other businesses are taking losses also. So they're less likely to throw out big money to guys that, might not be as impactful in the box score. So keep that in mind. Yeah, I hope Caruso stays also. Lakers have a good core. They have a good mix of younger guys and older guys. They have a good core, so I really hope that he sticks around also. But I'm glad we got this win tonight, man. I'm really glad we got this win. Screw the Celtics. I'm sick of them. It hurt my heart when we lost to them in '08. Really hurt me bad when we lost to them in '08. So I'm glad we got this win. Hopefully the Lakers are ready for this game against the Hawks, because these young teams, they always want to play up against the Lakers. There's always some guy that plays out of his mind. So I'm really hoping that we play well against the Hawks, and then it'll be a big game against the Nuggets. Like, everyone's gonna have their eyes on that, and we'll see how it works. Like, we'll see how things play out against the Hawks and Nuggets. I expect the Lakers to beat the Hawks. They need to come out serious. I like to see a double-digit win, and then I'd like to see them, play Lakers basketball against the Nuggets. That's what I want to see. So, shout out to you guys as always, man, for joining me in the post game. Make sure you guys subscribe on YouTube. All you guys watching on Twitter and on Facebook and on Twitch, go over to YouTube and search for LakerCentral, or youtube.com/LakerCentral. And do that. And subscribe to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, TuneIn, wherever you guys enjoy your podcast. I'm out of here, man. I'll be back again for our game against the Hawks. You guys been watching Laker Central. Good night.